Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Ziegler, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Impact Officer at the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro. I am delighted to welcome you to our 2026 Grants and Initiatives Application Workshop. Today, our goal is to help you navigate the application process, better understand our funding priorities, and share practical guidance for submitting a strong application. Before we move forward, I want to emphasize that nothing discussed during today's webinar guarantees funding. Grants are awarded through a competitive process, and all applications are individually evaluated based on alignment with our priorities, demonstrated community impact, and available funding. As we move forward, I want to briefly outline how we'll spend our time today. We will cover eligibility requirements, the Foundation's 2026 program areas, the application and review process, the 2026 grant cycle timeline, tips for submitting a strong application, reporting expectations for funded organizations, and we will have time at the end for a few questions. Our goal is to leave you with a clear understanding of what we fund, how to apply, and what makes an application successful. Over my time at the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro, I have learned a great deal about this city and county, our nonprofit sector, and the broader philanthropic landscape. As a community foundation, the vast majority of our funding is not discretionary. In 2025, we received more than $6 million in requests for approximately $375,000 in available grant funding. As a result, our grant making process is highly competitive. Our focus is on impact, not volume. We encourage organizations to submit thoughtful, well-developed proposals that align with our strategic priorities and demonstrate meaningful outcomes for the people and communities they serve. Strong applications will clearly articulate community need, a realistic approach to the work, and the impact that will occur due to your efforts. I've already introduced myself, but more importantly, I have the pleasure of partnering with two amazing people who make up our grants and initiatives team. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Blake Noel, and I am the Director of Grants and Initiatives. Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Smith. I am the Admin Assistant here in the Grants Initiatives Department.
I'm sure somewhere along the way you've reached out to or run into both of these two, and it's such a pleasure working with them. As a team, we look forward to supporting applicants throughout the grant cycle and serving as a resource during your time applying for funding.
Before beginning an application, organizations should review the eligibility requirements carefully. Basic eligibility requirements are: applicants must be recognized as a 501c3 organization in good status. Organizations must be located in or provide services within Greensboro and/or Guilford County. Funding requests may be submitted for up to $25,000. All eligible applications will be reviewed regardless of budget or organization size. Priority is given to proposals that advance the Community Foundation's focus areas of cultural vibrancy, economic mobility, and health and wellness. Next slide. In eligible requests, the Community Foundation does not award grants to individuals, organizations currently receiving year one funding as part of a multi-year grant commitment, public schools or other public agencies as direct applicants, although they may participate as partners, sponsorships, festivals, or event-focused funding requests, and organizations with outstanding grant reports. Prospective applicants are strongly encouraged to review eligibility criteria before beginning an application. Please feel free to submit eligibility-related questions through the chat, and we will address as many as we can during the Q&A portion of today's webinar. Next slide. Program areas. This is an overview. We will now provide some more in-depth of each of our program areas for 2026. Next slide. Health and wellness. At the Community Foundation, we recognize that health and wellness is a foundational component of a thriving community. Capital expenditures for senior serving facilities. One focus within this area is senior serving facilities. Support is provided through the Buddy Wow Fund. If you have a project in this area, please reach out to us, as this process differs from the Community Grants Program. Eligible requests for the Buddy Wow Fund may include capital costs, capital expansions, capital equipment for senior serving facilities throughout Greensboro. For capital expenditures for seniors, more than 51% of the population served must be aged 55 or older. Again, organizations interested in applying for the WOW Fund or seeking support for senior serving facilities capital projects should contact grants@cfgg.org prior to submitting an application, as these proposals are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Next slide. Another focus area is access to care. Priority is given to programs serving uninsured and underinsured residents in Guilford County, Randolph County, and Rockingham County. Uninsured individuals typically lack private or public health insurance. Underinsured individuals may have health insurance, but lack sufficient resources to obtain quality care and treatment. Next slide. The Community Foundation is also very interested in supporting initiatives that increase access to fresh, healthy, and nutritious food, address food insecurity, and improve community food systems throughout Guilford County. Next slide. A culturally vibrant community is one in which residents have meaningful access to arts, culture, education, and natural resources. I think it's the next slide. This year, the Community Foundation is particularly interested in supporting projects that engage diverse audiences, foster connection across lines of difference, promote inclusion and belonging, bring together multi-generational participants, and strengthen community cohesion through shared experiences. Next slide. Economic mobility. Economic mobility remains a critical component of long-term community well-being. Workforce and development and education, we focus on programs that develop talent, increase access to educational opportunities, prepare individuals for employment and career advancement, and strengthen pathways to economic self-sufficiency. For small business and entrepreneurship, we support efforts that provide technical assistance to entrepreneurs and small businesses, remove barriers to business growth, expand mentorship and business development opportunities, and promote wealth building and neighborhood economic vitality. For access to housing, we are interested in initiatives that expand access to affordable and market rate housing, support housing stability for working individuals and families, address housing-related barriers that limit economic opportunity, and encourage collaborative, community-based housing solutions. Next slide.
All right, let's take a moment to review the application process and what you can expect throughout the grant cycle. The 2026 Grants Initiative application will open up on Monday, August the 31st, and will close on Wednesday, September 30th. Please be sure to mark your calendars for these dates. Only completed applications submitted by the deadline will be reviewed. Applications that are incomplete or submitted after the deadline will not be considered. After submission, applications move through a structured review process. Internal diligence reviewed by foundation staff, committee review and recommendations, and then final approval by the foundation board. Organizations approved for funding can expect grant disbursements in January of 2027. Please keep this timeline in mind as you plan your programming, budgets, and implementation of activities. I will now turn it back over to Brandon.
We would also like to share a few suggestions for strengthening your application. Please present a clear and compelling case for impact. Focus on depth and not breadth. Clearly explain the problem your organization is addressing. Demonstrate how your proposed work aligns with the Community Foundation priorities. Answer all questions directly and completely in the application. Provide realistic and measurable outcomes, and use the budget template provided. Other templates will not be accepted. If you submit an alternative template, your application will be considered incomplete. If the CFGG budget template is submitted past the due date, your application will not be considered. If you forget your portal password, please use the Forgot Password option on the Online Grants portal login page before contacting staff. If you are unsure whether or not your organization already has an account in the portal, you can also use the Forgot Password option before reaching out to our team. If you have any needs regarding technical assistance with accessing the portal after those options have been tried, reach out to grants@cfgg.org for assistance.
Reporting. If your organization receives funding, reporting requirements are an important part of the grant process. Grant reports help us understand how funds were used, what outcomes were achieved, lessons learned throughout implementation, and the impact your organization made in the community. Timely submission of reports is important. Organizations with outstanding grant reports are not eligible for future funding consideration until all reporting requirements have been satisfied. And so now we're going to move into a question and answer session. We'll open the floor. We'll begin with the questions submitted during registration. We encourage attendees to submit additional questions using the chat. Our team will monitor the chat and answer questions as time allows. If you're unable to address your question today, please contact us at grants@cfgg.org. So, Brandon, you want to take over those questions for us?
Sure. We'll start with the first three. There are over 50 questions submitted. I'll just let you know that if a question was submitted that spoke particularly to an individual organization, a specific entity in our community, we will not be answering them directly. We'll answer questions that are applied to the application process and not individual organizations. We'll start out with, how does the foundation handle overhead? As most foundations, there's typically an allocation that's submitted to overhead. We do not like to see more than 15% of grant funding being allocated towards overhead for an organization. Question 2, what advice would you give applicants competing for limited funding? Our template, our application process is one that allows you to demonstrate impact, and we're very much focused on impact. We have a specific framework which we manage expected impact, forecasted impact, and which allows us to then also, based off of the reporting submitted and publicly available data, and also privately private data that we have access to, understand impact after the work has been done and reporting is submitted. So we look for, again, depth when it comes to impact and community. An example of this, thinking about workforce development, would not be simply 25 people went through my program. When we're thinking about impact, it might be something pertaining to 25 people went through my program, and at the end of this program, they were able to receive offers and take on jobs that increased their annual income by a certain percentage. So again, we're thinking about the impact of the work, not necessarily quantity or volume of the work. The next question we'll answer before we dig into the chat from the pre-webinar submitted questions. Are multi-year projects funded? Yes. Typically, we will consider a 2-year commitment. We are open to longer commitments depending on the organization's work, the funding pool that they are requesting allocation from, and the work in general. But typically, our max commitment is 2 years, but most often we are making 1-year grants. Amber, Blake, do any of you have access to the chat and want to submit ask some questions that have been submitted?
Sure. There's a question about a non-collegiate sorority. I believe as long as it's not a public agency or a public school, if it's a 501c3, they are eligible to apply for our funding. Of course, Brandon will check me if I make a mistake. So you guys got the real answers here. If you're applying under health, do you need to focus on one area or can you choose two? Focus on one. A more focused application, a more laser-like focus is more likely to create impact and is also more likely to be accessible for the large number of community members who review these grants. Can a project that operates under a 501c3 as its fiscal sponsor apply? Yes, you can apply with the fiscal sponsor. The fiscal sponsor is actually the one that does the application because the grant agreement will actually go through them. So the way that works is they would need to do the application. All communication would be with them, but the actual project description and like the actual reporting stuff, that would be what you would negotiate with them. So here's what we're going to do, and then here's how we're going to fill in the reporting at the end. So yes, you can have a fiscal sponsor. They would be doing the grant. And to get to that process, I think it makes sense to have a good conversation about what it is to partner with them.
I'm gonna step in and answer one as well, Blake, here. If our nonprofit currently has a grant with CFGG that ends in September, are we still eligible to apply for this grant? Yes. For previously funded organizations that still have grant reporting due in September, sometimes in December, we'll reach out directly to you. We will request a near final report that will allow us to complete the application and diligence process. And then all final reporting will need to be submitted before the grant is approved and grant disbursement is made in January of 2027. Another question we get quite frequently, not just about specifically applying for health and wellness or different program areas or different opportunities within the foundation. So some applicants will request funding from Future Fund or Women to Women. You might receive funding from the big equity fund, Black Investments in Greensboro Equity Fund. You are still eligible to apply for funding within our community grants program. However, we do consider those allocations if they are successfully made and dispersed as a part of overall funding from the foundation. So we'll make judgment calls based off of the amount of funding you might be receiving from another program area. So we encourage you to apply, but just keep in mind we are that part of the process. Future Fund, Women to Women, Big Equity will be a part of the overall assessment of the application. Any other questions that have come through? Just got a question about sharing the criteria used to evaluate our proposals. We have a proprietary impact measurement framework. We're not sharing that publicly, but we're willing to walk you through, again, the best ways to submit a strong application. Will this PowerPoint be shared? The webinar is being recorded, transcribed, and then the PowerPoint as well. This will all be shared at the end of the presentation. Will the application link be sent along with that information? The actual application portal will open up on August 31st, so it will not be sent with the recording. But if everyone who signed up for this webinar will receive information about the application portal opening up. But again, the portal will open on August 31st. We encourage all nonprofits to collaborate and partner with each other. If you are submitting an application that is speaking to several organizations working together, we look favorably upon that. So often we work in silos. So if you're partnering with other organizations, that's also a positive thing we will consider in our process. There's a very specific question around access to care for underinsured or uninsured folks, and that is specifically that fund. We have a specific fund that supports those counties. So Randolph for grants from that specific fund regarding access to care for those under or uninsured. All right. We are excited this year for this application cycle. We've seen some tremendous impact in our communities over the past 2 years, and we're really happy to partner with all of you as you do some great work impacting our community. If you have any questions, please reach out directly to grants@cfgg.org. We're happy to find some time to talk. We will have some office hours later in the year that will support some of the work you all are doing in creating strong applications. We want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for all the wonderful ways you serve our community and our county, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. We hope you have a great day.